Alright, so I am at Watkins Glen here in test session mode. Going to try to lay down a decent lap here and then talk about the line, show the setup. I have ran a 106.7. I am hoping that on video here I can at least get within a half a second or so of that and get in the low 107s. I looked at the leaderboard, and to be on the leaderboard, you basically got to be running 106 flat is what it comes down to. So I'm about 7/10 off of that. I really think it's a pretty solid setup, and considering I am 7/10 off the leaderboard, given my skill level, I'm actually pretty thrilled about. So I think it's a solid setup. I think it's pretty easy to drive. I think Watkins Glen is actually a fun track to run if you've got a decent setup and know the line you want to run. I actually like most of the road courses with the exception of Sonoma, which I cannot stand. But the rest of them I like pretty well. I tell you, that's not the way to hit turn one, and that usually kills your lap. If you don't hit turn one well, you do not have a good lap 90% of the time. Like to get a lap just a little bit better than that. Got through turn one in the S's. Let's see if I can get through the chicane and the carousel. I really don't worry about plowing grass there through the chicane. I don't think you lose that much time. You don't get a penalty for it. So I am not that concerned about being technically perfect through the chicane at all. Oh, if I can stay off the wall, I might have a decent lap.
Excellent lap.
Yeah, that's in the 106s. That's within a couple of tenths of my best. So I'm going to call that a pretty good lap. Let's back up here, start talking about how I run Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen is a track that is primarily right-hand turns. So I set the car up basically to turn right. It may not turn left as well when you get to the left-hand turns, but on the right-hand turns, it turns pretty good. My first mark on the track for turn one is this green light here. So when I hit that green light, I am on the brakes and I am downshifting to second gear. I am on the brakes. I'm not smashing it, but I'm probably 3/4 of the way down, and I am pretty aggressively downshifting to get to second gear. So I don't waste a lot of time in third. I go third, second. You can see it on the video. I let off the gas there. I start easing, or let off the brake. I start easing off the brake and then I get completely off of it. You really need to be completely off the brake to let the car turn. The car's either not going to want to turn, or you're going to lose a ton of speed if you try to stay on the brake through the turn. So you got to let the car roll through the corner and not be on the brake. If you are going over the bumps, and I don't always go over the speed bumps here, but if you go over them, you need to do one of two things. You either need to have the car straight, so you're going over them straight and not trying to turn, because the car will get all kinds of sideways on you if you're trying to turn and be full throttle. So you either need to be straight and full throttle, or you need to be very light on the throttle or coasting if you've got the wheel turned. I don't like to get real wide, but what I do try to do is straighten out these S's as much as you can. So you are probably already hitting third gear, and you're not going to lift from the time you get on the throttle coming out of one. You are not going to lift until you get clear up to the chicane. So this is all wide open. You want to be close to this outside wall here and full throttle, and you want to be coming down here and aiming for getting your right tires on the rumble strip to go through. I guess this is turn 3. Then you're going to set yourself up, or actually I guess that's turn 2. This would be turn 3, and again you want to be the inside tires, which is the left ones now, on the rumble strip. And you are just wide open, hammer down. You hit 4th gear probably between turns 2 and 3. And what you want to do is just be wide open. You're probably going to get close to the rev limiter. You should be at least redlining by the end of it. And my mark coming down here is this little awning here. Okay, that right there is what I am looking at to get ready for the chicane. So when I want to hit the chicane, what I am going to do is I am off the gas there, starting to brake. Once I get past that white line, I am usually downshifting to 3rd gear, and what I want to do is the first turn in the chicane is that right-hander going into it, okay? But you're not making that right-hander at the chicane. That turn is done. You're done right here. You have turned the car and pointed it, so you are done with that turn before you even get to it, okay? So right now you got the car pointed, and again, I know I was out of control, but this is the concept, even though you don't have to execute it perfectly to get a decent lap time. You're coming straight through here. You're in the turn, but you're not turning the wheel. You turned the wheel back on the straightaway. You're straight through here. You have the right side tires on the rumble strip, so you aren't really making a right turn in the chicane. You made it back there. Then here, you're going to be more or less turning here, and you just kind of ease the car as a left-hand turn, and you catch the inside tires on the rumble strips on both of them. When you come out, you are, by here, you should be hard back in the throttle. When you are going through that left-hand part of the chicane, you're either coasting or very, very light on the gas, but by here, you are hard on the gas. You're still in 3rd gear. Your right side tire should hit that. This next part, to set up the carousel, I'm not very good at. I've seen people do it. I know the concept, but I don't hit it very well. You want to think of it as like a turn on a speedway, okay? If you're going into a turn on a speedway, you start out by the wall and kind of dive down into the turn. That's what you want to do with the carousel, but it's a right-hand turn. So this white line I'm at, think of that as the wall on a super speedway, and you're going to want to dive down into it to make as wide of an arc as you can, similar to the way you would dive down to the bottom on a left-hand turn on a super speedway. You are in 3rd gear. If you hit it right, you won't go under 100 miles an hour. I am probably half to 3/4 of the throttle through here, and I'm not consistent on the throttle. I'm in the throttle, I'm out of it, depending on how well the car is turning, but I want to be down here by the yellow line. Coming out of it, I don't always go wide. Sometimes I try, if I can get the car turned well, to stay down here and have my left side tires on those rumble strips when you can see ahead. But I don't know if there is an advantage to doing it that way and cutting this corner tight or going wide. If you go wide, you've got a brake right here in the rumble strips. There's no rumble strips here. That's where you want to cross over, where there's no rumble strips. And then by the time you're crossing back to get ready for the next turn, you're more or less going straight. It's such an easy transition back that you can just stay on the throttle. You're coming through here. By now you're hitting 4th gear. You're wide open. This next turn in the old Heat 4 game, there used to be a Zippo sign, like for Zippo lighters, and I used to call this the Zippo turn. But the sponsorship has changed now, but I still call it the Zippo turn. Your fourth gear all the way up here. I have a hard time with this, probably because it's a left-hander and the car is really set up to make right-hand turns. Soon as I get to where this railing opens up, I am on the brakes and I actually downshift to second gear. A lot of people only downshift to third, but I have such a hard time with it. I downshift to second, and then I am off the gas, let it get the car down by the rumble strips, not off very long, then you're hard back in the gas, and then you are upshifting to third, and then this is where I think it's different than Heat 4. In Heat 4, you could go past, I don't know if this is a safer barrier or whatever it is, you could go past it a little ways before you had to brake. But in Heat 5, I found I have to brake right at the end of whatever this is, safer barrier, whatever it is. But I am hitting the brakes, downshifting to second gear, and I want to get down to the rumble strips almost like I'm going to pit road. And then as soon as you get the car turned, get back on the throttle, you're going to drift all the way out to the wall, and then you run up through the gears, the third gear, and then fourth gear. You should be hitting fourth gear somewhere along that Geico sign, and then you're back to the start-finish line. So that is my line at Watkins Glen. And I don't know why the screen went blank there, but maybe I ran out of test session time, but let's go look at the setup here. I ran everything on the bump and rebound at 3, just because I think that makes the car very stable when you're trying to go left and right. The weight settings, I went and I'm trying to turn right, okay? So I put very little weight on the left side and more on the right side. So that's why the left weight is so low. Similar to the wedge. Everybody thinks of wedge as being a lower number makes it looser, a higher number makes it tighter. That's true when you're at an oval and making only left-hand turns. But what wedge is really doing is a lower number makes it turn left easier, and a higher number makes it turn right easier. So I went up on the wedge because you're making predominantly right-hand turns at Watkins Glen. So that's why the wedge is where it is. I went down from my typical 1200 on the front springs because I felt like it makes it go over the rumble strips a little easier. The rear springs are pretty typical of a road course. On a road course, you typically have lighter rear springs to try to keep the car from spinning out, and they're even on both sides. I don't know if I changed the tire pressure or not. You don't need a lot of camber one way or the other, so there's not much camber in this setup. I have a fairly stiff front sway bar. I don't normally run a front sway bar this stiff at a road course, but I feel like as quick as you have to go right to left so often, a stiffer front sway bar helps the car when you have to change from a left-hand turn to a right-hand turn so quickly. The track bar settings really surprised me. The track bar settings, usually at a road course, I'm running a track bar setting of 6, 7, 8, something really low to keep the car from spinning out. But I find that in Heat 5, I can run a higher track bar and loosen the car up and not have it spinning out on me. So I went really high on the track bar. The brake bias is what I typically run at road courses. There is so much more braking in the front of the car than the back tires that you can slow the car down with less effort by having more brake bias to the front. The wheel lock is a little less than what I usually run at ovals, but not that much different. That helps, I think, quicken up the steering, and again, that helps when you're going left or right so much. And then the gearing I changed around based on just how much I was slowing up and where I wanted the RPMs when I was coming off the different corners, whether you're gearing down to second or third gear. So that is the Watkins Glen setup. I hope it helps you. I hope the line helps you. It's a really fun track to drive if you got a good setup and know how to drive it. Hope you put some really fast lap times up with this. If this was of any use to you at all, if you like the content, if you like the setups you're seeing, please do me a huge favor and like and subscribe. It would mean a great deal to me. appreciate all the support. I'm just shy of 500 subscribers now, and I'm getting lots and lots of likes and lots of positive feedback on it. So thank you guys for the support. Greatly appreciated. Keep it coming. And with that, I will say have a great day.